Happy Fragrant Friday, Fraghead. Hey everybody, this is Ben here at That Cologne Guy, coming at you with a new, Akron, Ohio got it this week, review. How are you doing? I hope you are doing well, my friends. My name is Ben. This channel is That Cologne Guy, and it is the channel that welcomes you to your weekend. Happy Fragrant Friday to you. I hope you are doing well indeed. You have seen the title and the description. I have made you wait long enough with bated breath. It's time for Polo Oud. You know, when it comes to this fragrance, there's a backstory here that I want to talk about. Let me just start off by talking about the house. In previous episodes, I find myself saying Ralph Lauren sometimes, and then sometimes I say Ralph Lauren, and I'm not even sure why. Ralph Lauren is American, so it should be Ralph Lauren. But for some reason, we say, like, we give it kind of a Parisian touch, and we say Ralph Lauren, and we often say Ralph Lauren. So I'm not promoting adult beverages, but I will say if you have some, Coke or Pepsi or something, and if you'd like to have a drinking game and take a swig every time I say Ralph Lauren, go ahead. I am going to try my best in this episode to say Ralph Lauren consistently. So that's the house. And then, of course, this is a flanker of the world-famous 80s powerhouse, Polo. There's not really that much needs to be said there. Other than, I know Dr. Goo over at Locked Sense, he really loves he Polo Green, and I never remember if that's like the original or if it's a release that is similar to the Modern Reserve. But either way, he really, really likes one of the Polo releases, if not the original. He can let us know. I personally am alike with the original. I like it. I don't love the original Polo. It takes you back, of course. Either you have had it, your dad or your grandpa. Somebody in your family has had Polo. I mean, it is a classic. It is an 80s powerhouse. It is nostalgia. It does smell excellent, and it has a very specific scent that I really appreciate. It is certainly original, no doubt. You know immediately when you're smelling Ralph Lauren's Polo. So there's something to be said about that. It is a like for me, not a love. Now, you guys know I tend to really like oud, but actually what brought me to this fragrance was I was in the airport in Vienna, Austria years ago, and I was in the duty-free, and I sprayed Supreme Oud, Ralph Lauren's Supreme Oud, and absolutely loved it. And I thought, well, I'll just get it. But I try, as you know, in my rating system, I try to be a cranky old man and be persnickety and really sit back and ask myself if I want a fragrance. So I did not buy it that day. But when I took my flight home, I kept smelling my wrist. I was like, oh man, I really, really like this stuff. I got back to the States only to find out that you really couldn't get it here. And then, of course, it was discontinued. So I never got Supreme Oud. And I, to this day, beat myself up for not getting it in Austria. So I could not believe my eyes when I saw that they released last year, 2023, Polo Oud, because I'm assuming that this is a nod and a wink to all the folks out there who liked Supreme Oud and perhaps didn't get their chance to get a bottle. I never know why they discontinue these things, especially when they're so popular. But anyway, so I was super, super psyched. Then I found out that it has, you guys know I love sweet ones, and it has, for me, the primary, like the real home run for me is when it is oud. Out of the four, I'll mention any combination of three or four would be great, but I like oud, cinnamon, coffee, and guaiac wood. Those are the big four from me personally. And I really hope that I have at least three here. And this one has guaiac wood, oud, and cinnamon. So I was super excited because I thought I'm gonna make sure that I get something as close to Supreme Oud as I possibly can. And it has at least 3 of the notes that I absolutely adore. And so I really had high hopes for this one. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But that's the backstory behind the fragrance. Now, this is a 2000. Let's get to the design and bottle and presentation. This is a 2023, of course. I've already mentioned the house, and let me go through the bottle. If the lighting here makes it look like it's black, it's not. It's actually it is green. It's a very dark hunter green, and it's a beautiful bottle. And I myself, we've talked about it before. I keep most of mine away in a little cabinet. This is the exception. I do keep this out for all to see in the bathroom. I really like the presentation. The bottle is gorgeous, actually. So here is the batch code. I'm assuming it's the original, so I didn't even look it up, but it is 38 X200G. There you go. There's the batch code with in very, very small print other informational items. This is a 100. This is another quirky size. This is a 4.2 ounce, 125 milliliter. I got it straight through the Ralph Lauren site. When it first came out, they had a pretty big discount. Actually, now it's like $135. And so, you probably want to look at discounters. But when they first had it out, I snagged it at a discount, and I'm glad I did. But the bottle itself is absolutely stunning. I love everything about the bottle. It has it has the quality you would expect from Ralph Lauren. Everything is great up until I even like, for example, you can see here the engraving where they have Ralph Lauren right there underneath the atomizer. I really appreciate that attention to detail. It looks like gold engraving. Of course, it's probably not actual, but it does look like that, and it has a very austere, niche quality presentation. Atomizer is fantastic. I'll give you a spray. Voila. That is very, very, very good indeed. So everything about the bottle is just fantastic. And the proof is in the proverbial pudding, because this is the only bottle that I currently have out for all to see, and I'm going to keep it there. So that is the presentation. Everything is great when it comes to this bottle. The question I think that begs to be asked, other than, well, here's what I hope, because you know that I like to pretend that I'm in the boardroom and I'm trying to figure out why they put this out. Here's the positive take. The positive take is they were in a board meeting and realized that a lot of people were on the Supreme Oud bandwagon. That is a fantastic scent. And I feel like they wanted to just bring it back, and it was probably, maybe it had some EU, European Union regulations, and they had to discontinue it, and that's why, and they probably took those out. I don't know. But if the positive take would be, this is coming out now because they wanted to ride the Supreme Oud train with the regulations that would allow them to do so. That's just me, pontificating and pondering the possibility of this release. Now, the negative grumpy Eeyore take would be, why? Why now? Those of you who are not big Oud fans are probably using the eye roll emoji because it's like Polo Oud in 2023. It's like 10 years past the Oud train. So it does seem a little quirky and a little late in the game. It's kind of like somebody who gets their first tattoo around now, right? We're kind of past the tattoo explosion. And so I personally don't have that concern, because I feel like it's probably just trying to continue a Supreme Oud-esque sale, quite frankly. But I wanted to bring that up because I know a lot of you are probably thinking, why? I mean, it is kind of random, it seems, that they would just put out an Oud Polo flanker just so late in the game. Now let's look at the notes. You guys know, go to Fragrantica if you'd like to read all of them. I just like to read and talk about the ones that I can really pick out. So in the top notes, you're definitely going to get, they mentioned sage. I don't really get too much of that. I get more of the pink pepper. And then after that, in the mid, you're really going to get rose, cinnamon, and orange flower. Now, it's interesting because most sites mentioned orange, but the actual Ralph Lauren site really focuses that it's on the fact that it's the orange flower, and they talk about that in great length. And so I want to make sure that I denote that this is orange flower according to them. Now, in the base, you're going to get oud, a lot of incense, guaiac wood, patchouli, and vetiver. So, I mean, this is quite gentlemanly, no doubt, and this is definitely for the pipe smoking man in an old library with patches on the elbows on his jacket, no doubt. You can tell it's a woody amber. For me, quite frankly, really a big player is actually incense. This is a very woody, smoky oud. It's not a fecal oud. It's not a dirty oud, but it's certainly not a clean, and it's not medicinal either. This is just a very, very, very smoky oud. One complaint that you're probably going to see is that, quite frankly, I don't know that oud is even the number one player here, at least on my skin. I really get incense. And so probably for minimalism, they're just calling it oud. I would have liked something like smoky oud. I think that would have been even better of a name. I'm not against the name, though. I don't want to say that you don't smell any oud, but I do want to be clear in saying I can't say that oud is even the main player here in this fragrance. Now let's compare the notes or the smell to the original. This to me is closer to Supreme Oud than it is the original Polo. So again, as someone who likes Polo, like when you spray this, it doesn't, you don't think, oh wow, this is the 80s powerhouse and they just sprinkled in a little oud. You don't think that. You really think more of, wow, okay, they're trying to encapsulate something that's close to Supreme Oud. That's my take. At least you can let me know if you disagree. I mean, it is a flanker, I'm sure, but it's got, a lot of rose, a lot of incense, but it doesn't smell to me like the OG. It doesn't smell a ton like Polo. It's not Polo DNA with a little oud, in other words. I don't know if I want to say it merits its own release, but it's a gray area, really, in this realm. So if you have Polo and you're thinking this would be a superfluous choice, I don't agree. I think this would be great for your collection. If they don't smell exactly alike. If you have Supreme Oud, lucky you. And if you have Supreme Oud, yeah, I agree. You probably wouldn't need this one, especially because I like Supreme Oud a little bit more than Polo Oud. Okay, so that's the year, that's the class. We got Woody Amber. I was not able to find a parfumé who did this fragrance. So those are the notes. We've sat here and wondered why they put this flanker out, and then let's get to the overall smell. What does it smell like? This one really does smell like a professor in an Ivy League library like Yale, in a special area of the library though that only has really, really old books. So like, let's say he or she is doing research on a particular item, and it's very specific and it's a very old topic, and they're in a special section of the library. That's what this really does evoke, kind of a 70s and 80s. You can imagine maybe smoking, a pipe and doing research, opening really, really old books, because it does have a very austere feel to it. So I'm going to say it smells like a very special section of the Yale Library, not much more specific than that. So definitely a smoky quality to it, so there's going to have to be tobacco or something at some point during that research. So that's what it smells like to me. This one is not going to be for everyone. I like the sweet ones. This is not sweet. That's not the issue. It's going to be, can you get past the rose oud combination? I, of course, love that combination, so that's not a problem for me. But if you don't like rose or oud, you will not like this one Most likely. I'm going to say most likely because, man, there's a lot of incense and vetiver and patchouli in this one, which, tend to be a universally loved. So there's enough, woody element to it that I think, smokiness that I think people could like. So this could be your one, oud fragrance in your collection if you're not a big fan of oud. Or rose, for that matter. So that's what it smells like. Now let's get to some of the categories. Now, when it comes to, let me go ahead and start off with gender. Excuse me. When it comes to gender, this one to me is something that I would say is feminine, unisex, masculine. I would put this way over into the uber masculine category. A woman could pull this off, of course, because you've got rose, you've got orange flower. But I think in practice, when it comes to somebody who owns it, who it's their signature scent, they really went out, they wanted it, got a bottle. I think you're going to see an 85-15 split, 85% the bros and then 15% the ladies. In practice, I think that's what you're going to see. Now, when it comes to age, this is another one. To me, it is very regal. It's austere. It's mature. It's certainly not a grandpa scent. I don't want to send the message that it's a grandma or grandpa scent. It's not. It definitely has a very, like I said, think of a male professor in a Yale library with the patches on the elbow, with the pipe, and it really has that austere take on it. So I'm going to say 40 and up on the age bracket as far as what you will see in practice. Again, 20 to 39, yeah, you could, especially if you really, really like the original. But I think what really will play out will be this is more of a 40 and up fragrance. Now, when it comes to seasons, this is a fall winter, so it's perfect for the weather out now. And I don't think it would be too cloying for the summer, but I don't know that I would reach for something like this in 100-degree weather. Or 39 degrees Celsius, something along those lines. Just really, really hot weather. I don't know that I would reach for something like this. It's definitely more of a fall winter fragrance. And then as far as day night, that's what I like about this fragrance. I know I'm supposed to probably say night, but really this could be worn day or night. I think the very smoky, fragrances, of course, you've got oud, you have vetiver, you've got patchouli, you have certain notes that aren't going to play well if you are in small meetings at work. So yeah, it is more tailored to the night, but as long as you go easy on the trigger, you could, in most businesses, most places, you could wear this during the day time. Now, let's go ahead and I think I mentioned it. Yeah, it's 125 milliliter, 4.2. Now, I do want to say we're going to break out the inner Eeyore here for a little bit. This is an EDP. This is an eau de parfum, and I will say that one factor I am going to ding it on is, for me at least, it smells divine. I have no buyer's remorse at all. I really like this one. I would say, though, I'm a little disappointed with the projection and longevity, especially for an EDP, and especially because recently I've been reviewing a lot of the Arabic fragrances, and will be also in the future, sent in by Brian. Those things last forever. I mean, they have nuclear longevity and projection, and so when you wear those, it's kind of hard to come to something like this and then have it be called an EDP. Really, to me, at least on my skin, this functions more like an EDT, and I was disappointed with that. So I'm going to say projection on my skin was actually like a 4 to 6. If we're going to do 3 feet or 1 meter distance. And then after that, it stays relatively close to the skin, especially if you're coming in and out of the outdoors, excuse me. And then as far as longevity, I mean, I'm going to give it a 6 to 8 hour. And I'm going to say that it just barely gets you to the finish line of a work shift. At least for me, 4 or 5 sprays, I felt like I was limping to the finish line at 8. I will give it a 6 to 8 though, because I will say for me it was most closer to 6, but a lot of people actually on Fragrantic at least felt like it had great longevity. So I don't know if it's just my bottle or if it's just how it interacts with my skin. It's not the 80s powerhouse that I had wanted, though, when it comes to projection and longevity. Okay, so let's get to sillage. So as far as the scent trail, this one will be leaving a nice trail, and I do for 3, 4, 5 hours, especially if you spray on your hair and your clothes. And so, this is another one that will definitely get you compliments. I don't know that they will be able to figure out that it's Polo, but that's kind of good too, right? That it has its own scent. Okay, so that's my little rant there. Now, when it comes to the event, here's another one too that I really like about this one. This would be something appropriate for a suit and tie, but this would also be just totally fine in casual attire. Another thing that really bodes well for this fragrance. On Fragrantica, I think it was rated. You guys rated it 4 out of 5, 4.26 or 3.6, something like that. Anything over 4 is very, very, very good for Fragrantica ratings. And I was a little surprised by that because I figured there'd be a little bit more hate for this fragrance. I figured there'd be a little bit more, okay, fine, but why? Why now? Or a little bit more of the fact that it doesn't have enough of the oud, or maybe a little bit of complaining on the longevity and projection. But people seem to really, really, really like this one. I like it a lot. And my dog doesn't like it. So, yeah. Either she doesn't like this fragrance or there's a squirrel out there. So I'm just letting this go. Okay, so for me, this is actually a really easy rating to give. This one in my 5 spray rating system is a clear 4 out of 5. Keep in mind that a 4 or 5 means I would love to have it in my collection. 3's a maybe, 2's and 1's are a pass. This one is a clear 4, and this is a very easy rating for me because I absolutely love everything about this fragrance. Everything on paper really speaks to something that I would really, really want in my collection. I do admit, I concede that I was slightly disappointed with the projection and the longevity, especially because there was one day I sprayed it on in the morning, and then subscriber Brian sent a package, and so I immediately opened that one and I sprayed that one on, and by the end of the day that thing was still going strong, only on one spray, by the way, and then this guy had completely disappeared. So I have to take that into consideration. The bottle is outstanding. I feel kind of bad about taking some points off, but I really need to. The bottle is just beautiful. For those of you who really get into that and having them out for people to see, you would definitely want to have something like this for all to see. But I'm going to take off one spray and give this a robust, rock solid 4 out of 5 sprays for Polo Oud. So I'm going to go 1 on each side of the neck and 1 on each wrist for 2023's Ralph Lauren's Polo Oud. A little late to the game, Ralph, when it comes to oud, but if you're trying to do this for those of us who did not buy Supreme Oud, thank you. Boom. 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 And boom. There you have it. Another review by the boards, my friends. I really, really enjoyed reviewing this fragrance. I look forward to next week. I've got a few surprises coming up for you. And always remember, my friends, fragrance marks the celebration of today. Thank you. So welcome to the bonus feature. I want to thank all 18 of you for making it this far. One thing I wanted to mention in the actual bottle itself is if you get it from Ralph Lauren's site, you get free engraving. And I wanted to point out here, only for the bonus feature, folks, that I have on this one, I have the date that my book came out. So this year, it was right at the very end of 2023, but with the 2024 actual publication, my book finally came out. If you would really, really, really like to see it, it is. I will send the Amazon link, and you can see it, or anywhere where fine books are sold. But I will only do it if you request, because it is written in Spanish. So that won't help a lot of you, but I wanted to point that out. I know a few of you have asked about it. So that is why I have, that's my engraving. But if you go through Ralph Lauren's site, you can get free engraving. Of course, that's after they've charged you way too much already. $135 for 125 milliliter. Over $1 a milliliter for something like this is too much. And so I would look for, frankly, I would probably, unless you really wanted to have the engraving, I would get it through a discounter at this point. This really is something that should be had for less than $100. Like I said, they had a big sale when they first put it out, and I snagged it right then and there. But at this point, $135 is way too much. All right, I'll see you next week. Thanks for sticking around.